Part 29. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 283. Chapter 279, The Demon King of the North Sea. It is rumored that there is a giant whale in the North Sea who has cultivated into a demon and commanded all the demons in the North Sea. He is honored as the Monster King of the North Sea. I guess it is you. I haven't visited the Central Plains for a long time. I didn't expect that a little Taoist like you would actually know about me, Jinghai laughed. Su Junming nodded slightly. It's good to know it's you. Master Dao's men never accept nameless ghosts. Whale Hai was stunned for a moment, then became furious. How dare you look down on me? Long-winded. Since they are enemies, there is no need to say more, just kill them. 365 grains of yellow rice flew out like lightning. The Dharma realm of the universe. Yimen Huangliang is now a high-grade spiritual weapon that has completed the 8 paths of spiritual restriction. 365 high-grade spiritual weapons are thrown at him. Under the 6th transformation of the nascent soul, who can stop it? The tyrannical power made Li Xingfang and Jinghai change their expressions. The former held a white lotus in his palm and drank from his mouth. The law of the inanimate world. Following a strange fluctuation, Su Junming transformed into 365 grains of yellow rice 10 feet in size. It penetrated through like an illusion and did not arrest Li Xingfang. The incarnation of the demon. Whale Hai shouted loudly, his body doubled in size in an instant, and the aura on his body rose straight up. He, who was already at the peak of the golden core, instantly broke through to a new realm, which was the nascent soul realm. The steel fork in his hand flashed with light, and huge waves rose out of thin air. In the blink of an eye, huge waves of 200 to 300 feet hit the yellow rice overwhelmingly. That tsunami-like wave of water was truly despairing. But this kind of water wave can't do anything to Su Junming. A blue light flashed behind the head in the huge waves, and the water wave was reduced by a quarter. It was flashed again, and another third was reduced. After 4 consecutive waves, the surrounding sky was clear. Impossible. Whale Hai looked at the blue light pillar that was 40 feet and 10 feet wide in mid-air in disbelief. Look at the aura, it's just a spiritual weapon, how can you block your own magic? Nothing is impossible. As soon as my heart moved, 365 grains of yellow rice, like sharks chasing prey, roared from all directions and gathered towards the whale sea. The overwhelming momentum made people tremble. Whale sea, don't hesitate anymore. Otherwise we will all die here this time. Li Xingfang suddenly shouted. Su Junming frowned, and his heart moved. Zhufeng Mountain emerged from Beihui Point 3 feet above his head. No matter what, protect yourself first. Looking at Jinghai, the latter gritted his teeth and took out a red talisman from his pocket. Big Cave Red Talisman. Su Junming was shocked. The big hole red talisman is equivalent to a magic weapon. However, compared with the preciousness of the magic weapon, the use of the talisman is limited. After using it with full strength a few times, it can no longer be used. Therefore, compared with the magic weapons falling into spiritual weapons in the environment of the end of heaven, a few of the big cave red talisman can still be preserved in the cave of the sect, which is richer in aura than the outside world. The god of Hushan performs magic. The breadth of this big hole red talisman is obscure. Although its function is unknown, it is better to keep distance first to be on the safe side. 1,000 feet across in an instant. Quick! Li Xingfang shouted anxiously. The whale sea finger technique changed. Disease. The red talisman was like lightning, flying straight towards Su Junming. The Dharma realm of the universe. After widening the distance, Su Junming changed his tactics. The yellow rice and rice flying towards the whale sea combined with each other, and in an instant, 100-foot yellow rice trapped the nascent soul red talisman in the middle. The connection between Jinghai and nascent soul red talisman was instantly severed. Damn it! Li Xingfang cursed angrily in his heart, and when he pressed the White Lotus, which was originally only the size of a water tank, instantly turned into 120 feet, and the brilliance of a top-grade spiritual weapon bloomed. A huge white light enveloped Yimeng Huangliang. When the two sides touched each other, the white light was like a mud cow entering the sea, with no effect. Su Junming pointed out that the tactics changed again. Soul capturing. The giant yellow rice instantly transformed into a giant bell. Boom! A voice like a yellow bell exploded in the air. The combination of 365 high-grade spiritual weapons is extremely powerful. In the nearest whale sea, the demon soul was instantly shaken down, and the giant bell flew up, taking him in like lightning. Su Junming stretched out his hand and pointed, and the giant bell flew straight towards Li Xingfang. She was far away, not like the Sea of Whales. She was in a daze for a few seconds and then woke up. Looking at the flying giant clock, his expression changed drastically. The fingers change, and the mouth suddenly drinks. Lotus grows at every step. One white lotus after another grows from 12 major acupoints on her body, including the jade pillow, Lingtai, Yeyang, Qi, Juk, Huagai, and Beihui. Every time a lotus flower appears, Li Xingfang's momentum becomes stronger. In the blink of an eye, he broke through the nascent soul and pointed at the white lotus. The spiritual light on the latter instantly became dozens of times stronger. White lotus inanimate spiritual light. A beam of light hundreds of feet thick, like the Milky Way pouring down, fell straight towards Su Junming. Its tyrannical momentum was earth-shattering. Within 1,000 miles, everyone could see this white light that spanned the sky and the earth. Gate of Hell. The giant bell that changed from yellow rice to rice expanded rapidly, and instantly turned into a giant ghost gate with a height of 365 feet. The ferocious ghost relief seems to have come to life, and the solid black stone reveals its solidity. The white lotus aura hit the ghost gate, as if a huge wave hit a solid embankment and was firmly blocked. Impossible. Li Xingfang looked at the scene in disbelief. With her current strength, she can activate the top-grade spiritual weapon Wusheng White Lotus, but she still can't get a top-grade spiritual weapon? Could it be that, every grain of yellow rice is a top-grade spiritual weapon? How is this possible? She couldn't believe it, but Su Junming was not stunned. Disciple Su Junming, I would like to invite the Holy Emperor Guan to come to me. I am as urgent as the law. The aura on his body increased rapidly, and he broke through the nascent soul realm. With a wave of his hand, a blue drum wrapped with thunder appeared. Thunder comes to the world. Dazzling thunder and lightning exploded, and the majestic thunder struck down towards Li Xingfang like a giant knife in the hand of a god. White lotus inanimate spiritual light. The dazzling light blocked the thunder. Su Junming has two purposes. The gate of hell turns into a giant bell here. Boom! The mighty bells resounded throughout the world. Li Xingfang's expression froze, and the white light stopped instantly. The vast thunder struck down. Without a spiritual weapon, the physical body would not be able to withstand such a thunderous blow. Along with the shrill screams, the body turned into ashes. The 100-foot giant bell transformed from yellow rice suddenly fell, and everything came to an end. After taking back the thunder drum and Yimen Huangliang, Su Junming withdrew the magic weapon and turned into light to escape. After a long time, other monks came to check carefully. Feeling the powerful aftertaste of thunder and mana in the air, everyone looked shocked. To this day, they still remember the mighty bells and the tyrannical thunder that seemed to tear the sky in half. Returning to Wuzhang Peak Cave Heaven, Ren Wuji came up to greet him. How? Wusheng Old Mother Li Xingfang and the North Sea Demon King Jinghai were all killed by me. Tisk tisk, 2 golden elixir peaks. A lot of loot, right? Su Junming nodded. Where's Wen Ruyi? The yin and yang millstone flew out from Renwuji's dantian. They are pressed inside. There are also White Lotus Sex Golden Elixir Elder Red Dust Monk Wahen and Zodharma Protector Jingchen's Asimalun. They were also taken down together this time. So, the only one left in the top ranks of the White Lotus sect is Chen Kong, the right protector of the Lianshan mountain. That's the case on the surface. However, the White Lotus sect has been operating for many years, so I'm afraid it still has a lot of strength secretly. Su Junming nodded. Anything good? 3 low-grade spiritual weapons, and some 1,000 refined iron. Su Junming frowned. Where is Wen Ruyi? She is also a saint of the White Lotus sect after all. Why is she so poor? Your vision is too high. As a saint of the White Lotus sect, you have the 7 emotions demonic lotus and this black demonic sword in your hands. These 2 spiritual weapons have surpassed more than 95% of the golden core cultivators in the practice world. That's true. Su Junming killed many golden elixirs and took a lot of trophies. In addition, since I know how to refine weapons, I no longer feel that low-grade spiritual weapons are so precious. In fact, in the entire cultivation world, except for the big sects and casual golden elixir cultivators, most of them are still using the best magical weapons, and only a few can own a spiritual weapon. Give me their golden elixirs and spiritual weapons. After Renwuji nodded, he pointed at the golden circle around his neck, 3 golden elixirs, and 3 magic bags and flew towards Su Junming. Huang Liangmai flew over and caught it. He stretched out his hand and the 1,000 refining spiritual materials inside flew out. These heroes of hardware will train you in the golden circle of subduing demons. It's rare that you still remember me. Renwuji waved and took it. Keep an eye on Huoyan, I'll go take care of it. After that, he flew into the wooden house. Put things aside. Wen Ruyi's black demon sword uses a magical weapon made of 1,000 refined red copper and 1,000 refined fine iron, and has 3 spiritual taboos in it. Throwing it away, a golden light flew out from behind the head, wrapped around the black demon sword and twisted it to prevent it from shattering. The metal aura inside was absorbed by the Zhengjin divine light. The remaining 2 pieces are one with fire attribute and one with white bone spirit weapon. The fire attribute is directly used to practice the red fire divine light, and the white bone spiritual weapon is used to break the restrictions. After being purified, it is used to strengthen one's own bones. The elixirs in the 3 people's magic bags were placed in the Den Pavilion where the elixirs were usually stored in Jugfeng Mountain. Herbs and spiritual plants are grown in categories. Everything worthless is burned. After dealing with these, raise your hand. A crimson jade talisman, a 3-pronged steel fork, a white lotus flower, and 2 magic bags appeared in front of him. Su Junming was very curious about this big whole jade talisman. Li Xingfang had great expectations for it at the beginning, and its power was definitely not small. Holding it in hand, the spiritual consciousness is immersed, and a powerful imprisoning law is transmitted into the sea of consciousness. What a powerful confinement talisman! Su Junming was shocked. He uses the divine fighting true technique, and the most powerful one is only equivalent to the 3rd transformation of the nascent soul. And the legal intention revealed by this confinement talisman can at least trap the monks in the 9 transformations of nascent soul. Although the time is only 1 minute, in a duel between strong men, life and death can be determined in an instant, let alone 1 minute. This is a good thing, but I don't know where Whale High got such a talisman. Confinement is a branch of the sealing path. Unless they are talented and have amazing understanding, few people will practice this path. Pick up the 3-strand steel fork. Divine consciousness is immersed, and the 3 words Nayahika are reflected in the sea of consciousness. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 284. Chapter 280 Biming Ling Shui. A top-grade spiritual weapon from the 9 treasure forbidden rules. It's the path to good luck. He shook the steel fork in his hand. He couldn't use the high-grade water attribute spiritual weapon. Just as he was about to destroy the ritual training water Jew divine light, he stopped again when things happened. Let's see what we can exchange from the section. Open Whale C's Bag of Magic. The magic bag of the Peak Jindan monk was naturally unusual. Su Junming saw a space with a huge space of 10 feet through his spiritual consciousness. There aren't many things inside, just a few bottles of elixirs, a few top-quality magic weapons, and some thousand refined iron. But these are nothing. The most precious thing is a gourd of the top-grade Biming spiritual water. Biming spiritual water is spiritual water that contains the charm of cold ice, freezing to the bone. It can only be collected in the North Sea, which is bone-chillingly cold for most of the year. This gourd of Biming spiritual water is the size of a wash basin. In today's world where the law of heaven is at the end, it is impossible to produce so much spiritual water without more than 300 years of hard work. This whale sea has condensed so much northern spiritual water, most likely to cultivate some incredible spiritual weapon. However, now it is easy for me. No matter how powerful the water-based spiritual weapon is, Su Junming has no intention of practicing it. He already has enough spiritual weapons in his hand, especially the Yimen Huangliang and the 9 Ju Divine Light, which are big gold eaters. If it weren't for the fact that the latter was not a natal spiritual weapon, but just a casual ritual, he would have been under even greater pressure. He tossed the gourd in his hand and reached out to remove the sealing talisman on it. A blue light flashed behind his head, and with a suction force, a finger-thick, dark blue water containing endless freezing power flew into the blue light behind his head. As soon as the mana was activated, the sound of a rolling ocean wave rang out from the blue aura. Visible to the naked eye, runes are derived from the blue light. With each rune derived, the sound of the ocean tide becomes louder. By the time the 10th rune was derived, the sound of rolling waves had become deafening. The 3-foot-tall, 7-foot-wide blue light exudes astonishing water power. The 11th rune flickered for a moment and finally collapsed. Su Junming sighed after opening his eyes. It's still a little bit worse. I am proud of the cultivation experience left by many seniors who have practiced the Tianyi Shen Shui Jing in the Mission Nan sect for thousands of years. Although he did not major in waterway, he still understood the water talisman to the Red Realm. Therefore, as long as there are enough materials, it only takes a moment to transform the water absolute divine light into a top-quality spiritual weapon that completes the 12 spiritual prohibitions. But even so, the Shuiju divine light came from behind, surpassing the red fire divine light that he first practiced, and became the strongest spiritual light in his hand. After dealing with the spoils obtained from Whale High, only Li Xingfang was left. As the leader of the White Lotus sect, there must be a lot of good things, so Su Junming has the greatest expectations for her magic bag. Especially the inanimate White Lotus, as the most famous spiritual weapon of the White Lotus sect, this is a spiritual weapon that fulfills the 12 spiritual prohibitions. However, as a weapon refiner, Su Junming, who is most sensitive to various spiritual materials, discovered it instantly after a simple ritual. A natural spiritual weapon that contains the Tao of creation. What a waste of nature, what a waste of nature. Su Junming's face was filled with regret. This white lotus was originally a spiritual root that was naturally raised on earth and contained 9 rays of innate spiritual energy. If it is done through sacrificial training, let alone a spiritual weapon, it is possible to refine a high-grade magic weapon that contains the Tao of creation. Unfortunately, the White Lotus Sutra, the teaching method of the White Lotus sect, is a magical method that was used by the Buddha to become a demon, and to achieve enlightenment through the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Completely contrary to the way of creation. What a waste of Balian's qualifications. But even so, the inanimate White Lotus trained with this White Lotus still gave birth to a magical power. White Lotus Magic Breaking Aura. Li Xingfang used this method to avoid Yimen Huangliang's capture. If she hadn't been knocked out of her soul by the Yimeng Huang Liang, it would not have been so easy to capture her. After playing with it for a while, he shook his head and temporarily put it into the Jufeng Mountain Treasure Pavilion. He is not good at the Tao of creation either, so he should put this white lotus on the shelf for now. He took Li Xingfang's magic bag and nothing more. The extremely compact courtyard house, which was the size of a teapot, attracted his attention. Dongtian magic weapon. He took it out with great interest, soaked it with his spiritual consciousness, and after looking at it, he transformed into a spiritual light and flew in. The small courtyard quickly enlarged before our eyes, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a courtyard the size of an acres of land. What a rich spiritual energy! As soon as he came in, he felt that the spiritual energy here was stronger than his own Jufeng Mountain. After a brief inspection of the approximately 120 square meters, a few flowers and plants were planted, most of which were paved with bluestones in the front yard, and then I stepped into the main room in the middle. The main room is divided into 2 floors, with the living room in the middle, the study room on the left, and the training room on the right. The furnishings in the living room are no different from ordinary ones, but the tables, chairs, and benches are made of exquisite materials, and the porcelain on display are basically rare antiques. Entering the study room, there is a desk next to the window, complete with pen, ink, paper, and inkstone. There is a half-opened, old, and yellowed silk book on the table. Look at the title page. Zioxiangzi talks about the 7 essentials of the Tao of creation. The way of creation. Su Junming picked it up and took a look. There are 500 words in it, and the whole article is about the Tao of creation. Moreover, it contains the annotations of at least 7 monks after their enlightenment. Although there is no cultivation method, it is not difficult to compile a cultivation method as long as you can thoroughly understand this book. Zioxiangzi tells the 7 essentials of the Tao of creation. Su Junming's 12 great Dharma schools have been determined, and he has no intention of changing them for the time being. But when nothing happens, this Tao of creation can be used to understand. Put down this silk book on the bookshelf next to it. The White Lotus sect's 3 major religion-suppressing magical powers, the 9 heaven seal script for gods and demons, the Lotus White Lotus Sutra, and the Maitreya Great Yuan Gong, are impressively listed. 19 unique skills such as the Sanyan Transformation Blood Knife, Swanyan Divine Demon Achievement Technique, Blood Flame Divine Demon Achievement Technique, 7 Emotions Demon Technique, Dao Di Da Fa, 3 Corpse Divine Technique, and Zombie Technique are also listed above. In addition to the methods, there are also insights from the White Lotus disciples who practice these methods. Although the White Lotus sect has not been established for a long time, and the accumulated practice notes are not many, they are still quite impressive. Plus other methods collected by the White Lotus sect. There are 3,000 volumes of jade slips, silk books, and gold volumes collected in Li Xingfang's study. For Su Junming, who loves to collect books, the harvest is huge. His fingers passed over the books, either rough or smooth, which made him feel a deep sense of satisfaction in his heart. After a long time, I finally suppressed the thought and thought about it here. Reluctantly, he came to the training room. The futon is a top-quality magic weapon woven from 108 roots of top-quality earthy sun grass. Xingxiang is made from dried moonflowers. The combination of the 2 can clear the mind and focus, eliminate demons, and assist in spiritual practice. There were pills on the shelf next to them, and Su Junming walked over to check them out. He is proficient in alchemy. As long as he smells it, he can guess its approximate function even if he doesn't recognize it. The Supreme Soul Condensing Pill. Feeling the refreshing feeling that penetrated his soul, Su Junming was surprised. Tai's Hang Soul Condensing Pill is an elixir for treating soul injuries. It is refined from the Great Cave level elixir Thousand Soul Grass and is a Dongsuan level product. After shaking the jade bottle in his hand, there were 3 pills in it. Judging from the appearance, it has obviously been practiced for many years. It's a good opportunity for Li Xingfang to arrive. He can also get this kind of elixir. In addition to the Tai Shang soul condensing pill, there are 3 gourds and 300 Biang pills next to it. 2 gourds, 174 Qingyang pills. 1 bottle, 34 pills, Taiwang blood replenishing pill. Taiwang blood replenishing pill is a middle-grade Dongxian elixir made from 3 Dongxian spiritual materials, dragon heart grass, millennium snake slough, and moonflower. The main function is to heal wounds. There are also many other elixirs for detoxification and hemostasis. Su Junming put them into his sleeves by category. The Taoist robe on his body has been trained for many years and is now a low-grade spiritual weapon. Moreover, he used the Huishan Dao method to open up a 100-foot space. Therefore, the green gourd that was originally used for storage turned into a low-grade space spiritual weapon after some sacrifices and training, and is now in the hands of White Bone Lord Manfang. Now that Zhifeng Mountain is here, the important and large things are placed inside, and the rest of the elixirs and other items that can be accessed at any time, the 100 feet of space in the Taoist robe is enough. After checking the training room, Su Junming climbed up the steps. Just as he reached the stairs, a black stream of light hit his face. Su Junming looked calm. Silently urged the talisman to be sealed in the dantian. Certainly. A 3-foot-long little snake with a black body and a single horn appeared in front of him. I noticed the thick water aura wrapped around the snake's body. Black water black snake. The black water black snake is an ancient spiritual beast, and it becomes a demon when it reaches adulthood. However, like many spiritual beasts with powerful bloodlines, the black water black snake grows slowly, and can easily take 1,000 years. Looking at the size of the black water black snake in front of me, it was just born. It's so rare, let's leave it to Zhenying from now on. After erasing the memory, he threw it into Zhifeng Mountain. Opening the middle room, a gorgeously decorated women's boudoir comes into view. After a brief glance, Su Junming saw a small copper stove placed on the square table beside the bed. I walked over and opened it, and 2 pink-scented tablets were exposed inside. Albizia. This thing is practiced using the Dongsuan level yin-yang grass sacrifice, which is an excellent auxiliary tool for yin-yang dual cultivation. Just a little bit can turn the chaste and fierce woman into that. The faint fishy smell in the show tent is the same as the smell on Whale Sea. It seems that Li Xingfang conquered the Whale Sea here. Alas, a demon cultivator at the peak of the golden elixir finally died under the pomegranate skirt. If it weren't for Li Xingfang's instigation, I'm afraid Jinghai wouldn't have troubled him. Of course, there are also factors involved in the 1003 Great Tribulations. At the beginning of the Great Catastrophe, the demons attacked the 7 evil spirits, and the heaven and earth were filled with evil spirits. If your Xingxing is not good enough at ordinary times, you will be disturbed by this evil spirit and become restless, lose your concentration, and become irritable and bloodthirsty. However, those demons and monsters usually do not cultivate their character and only seek magic power. They can usually restrain themselves, but now they are aroused by the evil spirit and come out to cause trouble one after another. Because of the dual cultivation of life and life, the righteous way usually accumulates a lot of merits and can restrain the temptation of evil spirits. The righteous path and the demonic path, which were already incompatible with each other, at this time, driven by the evil spirit, the fight became particularly fierce. In this way, it becomes a catastrophe where the color of the true Tao changes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 285. Chapter 285. Grateful. My son's name is Yuan Bao. The starting price is 3,700 coins. Son of Destiny of all realms 1000 starting coins. I haven't thought of a nickname yet. 1000 starting coins. Xinu Daddy 600 starting coins. Ancient Navigator 600 starting coins. Purple Gold Wind Runner 500 starting coins. Cocoa Bean Powder 500 starting coins. Book Friends 2020331065749717 500 starting coins. Board Master Peng 500 starting coins. Picture Explosion 500 starting coins. Collection of Books 500 starting coins. Summon Chenin 500 starting coins. Boring Little Evil 500 starting coins. The Book of Changa, Laughter and Forgetting starts at 500 coins. The Love of That Summer 500 starting coins. Bald Headwinds 300 starting coins. A Bottle of Zhang Yu Meng Life 300 starting coins. Mine, mine, everything is mine. 200 starting coins. Snake Gentleman 200 starting coins. G0 Suyaya 100 starting coins. Who deserves 100 starting coins? 150321174243110 for 100 starting coins. Book Friends 201705172036247888 100 starting coins. Lingren 100 starting coins. Just 100 starting coins. Xiaogaishan 100 starting coin. A Lonely Soul in Troubled Times 100 starting coins. Book Friends 2018101014215846 100 starting coins. Cruelly Reality 100 starting coins. Heretic Kyojiao Self-Lingering 100 starting coins. Local 1223 100 starting coins. CQS Chang Sen 100 starting coin. Alfalfa Lined MXC 100 starting coin. Yuking Original Daejun 20 starting coins. 2017040320303699 for 100 starting coins. Call Me Daddy and get 100 starting coins. Book Friend 1308230751385550 100 starting coins. Book Eater adds 100 starting coins. Thanks to the above 38 book friends for their rewards, thank you very much. Linkfuchsia's chat group, 100-544-1799, Apprentice to Master Simu. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 286. Chapter 281 White Lotus Spiritual Root. I wanted to destroy the albizia incense, but gave up after thinking about it. After all, it is also a cave-level elixir. Although its efficacy is partial, it can often play a decisive role in some critical situations. Exit the bedroom and go to the right side. Pushing the door open, there is another training room. Feeling the unique aura of Wen Ruyi, Su Junming smiled lightly. Interesting. After collecting the remaining elixirs, go to the far left and last room. There are powerful restrictions on the door. Even if someone at the peak of Jindan wants to get in, he will still have to put in a lot of effort without knowing how to do it. But for Su Junming, the god of Hushan performs magic. The moment he entered, a dark green snare hood came down, as fast as lightning, and mixed with an extremely strong fishy smell. His heart moved, and a red light flashed behind his head, accompanied by a scorching fire. The green snare was burned. Zhizzy! With ear-piercing screams, large and small black spiders swarmed in. With a push of magic power, a grain of yellow rice flew out. The powerful swallowing power spread out, and most of the spiders were taken in instantly. Only the last big spider, which was 3 feet long, covered with bristles, had 6 compound eyes, and had a grimace on its hard back, was still struggling to resist. You are so brave, you dare to break into the leader's treasure house? If you are wise, stop immediately, otherwise the leader will come back and catch you, and you will be in a dilemma between life and death. The sultry voice came from the spider's body. Your leader has become a ghost in my hands and will never come again. Impossible. The spider screamed. Su Junming smiled calmly. The copper bell on the waist vibrated, and with the clear and far-reaching sound that penetrated directly into the soul, the spider demon soul vibrated, and as soon as the demonic aura weakened, it was instantly swallowed by the yellow rice. The Black Widow with a golden elixir turned into the yellow rice, which is now a top-grade spiritual weapon, is equivalent to death. Without the stumbling spider, there is a treasure house of 200 to 300 square meters, and it has become a place where Su Junming gets what he wants. The layout of the treasure house is simple. It was empty all around, with only an altar-like place protruding in the middle. Su Junming climbed up the steps and saw a large bronze vat 3 feet wide and 2 feet high, with a Suanwu swallow and a simple shape. Countless miscellaneous gases were swallowed up by the basaltic reliefs and transformed into pure spiritual energy, filling this courtyard containing Huishan Taoism. Moreover, this large vat is also extraordinary. Judging from the aura, it is a medium-grade spiritual weapon from the 4 spiritual taboos. Taking a few steps forward, on the clear water in the large tank, there were 40 or 50 emerald-colored lotus leaves of different sizes floating on the clear water, as well as 3 white lotus bones. With his spiritual consciousness immersed, everything in front of him is instantly magnified. The water surface that was originally only 3 feet wide suddenly became 100 acres in size. On the clear water, each lotus leaf is 9 feet in size, like a huge green carpet. The white lotus buds have also become the size of a water tank. The white lotus spiritual root that contains the Tao of creation. Su Junming was excited. He was certain that Li Xingfang's inanimate white lotus was made from a blooming white lotus. In addition to the white lotus spiritual root of the big cave level, the water used to cultivate it is not ordinary water, but the top-grade Yuelan spiritual water. 100 acres of Yuelan spiritual water, such a huge amount of spiritual water, is definitely not something that can be produced in the era of the end of heaven's law. And there is a half-tank hole of really top-quality 3-color spiritual soil underneath. After triggering a dream of Huang Liang, he was very curious, where did Li Xingfang get this vat of spiritual roots? Soon, her memory appeared in front of Su Junming. As written in countless novels, behind every villain there is an unbearable past. Li Xingfang is no exception. She was originally an official in the early years of the Jin dynasty. She grew up in fine clothes and lived a life of a master. However, something unexpected happened, and her father was involved in the literary prison and was deposed by the then Emperor Kangxi. All the men in the family were beheaded and the women were sent to the Jiaofang division. Jiaofangxi is an official prostitute. After entering this place, Li Xingfang's life instantly fell into hell, which completely changed her inexperienced life. However, she did not stay in the Jiaofangxi for too long. Because of her outstanding beauty, she was redeemed by a nobleman who was a member of the 3 banners. After experiencing a palace fight worthy of the legend of Zhen Huan, Li Xingfang used arsenic to kill the noble family. Because of his careful planning, he escaped from the capital safely and hid in the western mountains. Because of her beauty, she was accepted as a disciple by a casual cultivator in Zishan. They say they are disciples, but they are actually forbidden. Li Xingfang used the skills he learned in the Jiaofang department to make the casual cultivator feel comfortable. Within a few years, he had learned everything he could. Coupled with her excellent qualifications, she quickly excelled. Like the Black Widow who likes to eat her mating partners, Li Xingfang also used the soul and bones of this casual cultivator to practice his first magic weapon. From this, she also discovered that it was most beneficial to her to serve others with sex. Therefore, countless lustful casual cultivators became stepping stones on her road to success. With the resources of these people, Li Xingfang's cultivation has been rising rapidly, and it only took half a century to advance to the Golden Core realm. As her cultivation level got higher and higher, her vagina became bigger and bigger. No longer content to fight alone, he began to use the cultivation techniques and resources he had accumulated over the years to found the White Lotus sect. It must be said that this woman's methods are amazing. In a short period of time, the White Lotus sect has grown rapidly in her hands to the extent that it can threaten the thousand-year-old sects such as Tianchi sect, Shenxiao Dao, and Mission. However, compared to the master-disciple tradition, the three mountain talisman factions are more cohesive. The White Lotus sect is a gang formed by Li Xingfang using poison and witchcraft to forcefully gather countless casual cultivators. Strong is strong, but it has no centripetal force. So in just one battle, they were defeated by the three mountain talisman factions. However, Li Xingfang, who escaped with his life, soon used the same method to start a new business overseas. Only 100 years later, the White Lotus sect came back again, and it was stronger than the last time. If it weren't for Su Junming, an anomaly who was proficient in many kinds of Taoism, she wouldn't have died so quickly. After reading Li Xingfang's memories, he also discovered this woman's core secret. White Lotus transformation technique. A kind of distraction technique recorded in the White Lotus Sutra is similar to Su Junming's 7 soul clones. It can separate a clone with independent thoughts. This White Lotus transformation technique is much better than Ren Xiang's twin demon technique, at least it doesn't have such obvious consequences. But it's a bit worse than Su Junming's 7 soul clone. As long as the soul cultivation level is high enough, the 7 soul clones will be naturally divided, and the White Lotus transformation technique will cause soul damage. Injuries to the soul are the most difficult to heal, and Su Junming understands this very well. When he first divided Renwuji according to the 7 soul dividing technique, he suffered serious soul injuries. If it hadn't been for the realm-breaking golden pill, which greatly increased his understanding, and with the help of the bronze mirror, his soul cultivation had greatly improved, and he had further perfected the 7 souls dividing soul technique, I'm afraid it would still be difficult to heal the soul injury. The soul that Li Xingfang separated using the White Lotus transformation technique was none other than the saint of the White Lotus sect, Wen Ruyi. No matter who of the two dies, they can be resurrected with the help of the other. Therefore, after knowing that Su Junming single-handedly suppressed the ghost disaster in Changping, Li Xingfang still dared to entangle the North Sea demon king Jinghai and intercept him halfway. But she was still wrong. It was thought that Tianxing's Hu Fire Eye without Su Junming would be able to detonate easily. Unexpectedly, Renwuji and 5 golden elixir puppets were still in charge. The head-on collision not only broke Wen Ruyi, but also destroyed most of the remaining golden elixirs of the White Lotus sect. Without Li Xingfang, the White Lotus sect has nothing to worry about. But what Su Junming was more curious about was the appearance in Li Xingfang's memory of an extremely powerful guy who had always been hidden in the black mist. It was this person who convinced Li Xingfang and used the Saihewan Dongtian spiritual weapon that Su Junming saw in exchange for Li Xingfang to break through the Tianxing's Hu Fire Eye. Who is this person? In Li Xingfang's memory, she had dealt with this person twice. For the first time, this person used a Dongxian Grade Qingyu Spirit Stone to exchange for 300,000 ghost souls from Li Xingfang. The latter used this spiritual stone to practice the 7 emotions demonic lotus in Wen Ruyu's hand. However, during the war 100 years ago, this lotus was broken under the Tianchi sect's spiritual treasure, the Tianchi sword. The second time, this person used a bottle of top soul condensing pill to exchange 100,000 ghost souls from Li Xingfang. It was also this bottle of supreme soul condensing pill that allowed Li Xingfang to heal his soul injury and reseparate Wen Ruyi's clone. It seems that this person is only interested in ghosts. The only exception this time was that the other party's exchange price was Tianxing's Hu Fire Eyes. Thinking of the first time he came to Tianxing's Hu and killed Ito Hanako, the man in black robe appeared in her memory. The breaths of both sides are too similar. It seems that there is someone else who is thinking about seeing Zhou Huoyan today. There was too little information, and he couldn't guess the person's identity. Nowadays, the secret of heaven is in chaos, and Yigua cannot calculate it. He shook his head and suppressed unnecessary thoughts for the time being. No matter who this person is, under the background of the end of heaven and earth, no one can achieve nascent soul. In this case, with Renwuji presiding over it and the Jindan puppet relying on the four elephants demon-slaying formation, the entire Wuzangfeng cave heaven can be said to be impregnable. Unable to break through Wuzang Peak, Tianxing's whose fire eye was suppressed by the Lianji Yuan Guang array and was safe and sound. He urged Yimen Huangliang to check the memories of Jinghai and others. Su Junming had a few more jade slips in his hand. The most valuable thing is a technique called Baiming Zhenju recorded in Jinghai's memory. This is a rare ice technique, which Whale Sea obtained from a waterhouse deep in the North Sea. The ice road is a combination of the avenue of wind and the avenue of water, and is very powerful. The reason why Jinghai spent 300 years of hard work condensing the Baiming True Water was to become the most powerful Baiming water gathering flag among the several spiritual weapons recorded in the Baiming True Ju. According to what is recorded in the True Formula, if you can practice this flag sacrifice, it will become a spiritual treasure. Just shake it, and you can freeze thousands of miles of sea. In a blink of an eye, the hot and dry desert can turn into a cold and windy ice field in an instant. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 287. Chapter 282 Bihai. Although Baiming Zhenju is good and Baiming water gathering flag is powerful enough, the 12 avenues that Su Junming majors in are not weak and there is no need to change them. Looking at the 200-foot-long giant blue whale within the yellow rice field, Su Junming showed a look of satisfaction on his face. In the lower belly of this whale sea's monster body, he can open at least 2 earthly evil acupoints. Holding the bronze vat, Su Junming flew into Jufeng Mountain. With a finger, 100-acre lotus pond suddenly fell into a col in the first mountain. Su Junming took out the Wusheng white lotus and after a brief inspection, 9 divine lights flew out from the back of his head. After wrapping around the Wusheng white lotus and stirring it, the white spiritual light flashed instantly. In less than a quarter of an hour, the white lotus slowly disintegrated. 7 wisps of innate spiritual energy flew into the lotus pond and were instantly absorbed by 3 white lotuses. Visible to the naked eye, the 3 white lotuses are full of energy, the tightly closed flower bones have doubled in size, and a snow-white lotus petal has a tendency to bloom. But it's still very early for the flowers to bloom. Su Junming does not feel sorry. Later flowering means greater potential. After nodding with satisfaction, he looked at the bronze jar in his hand. The low-grade spiritual weapons of the 3 spiritual bands have no other use except for storage in this 100 acres of space. After a brief realization, I threw it away. The Zhengjin spiritual light was taken in and the restriction was broken. After absorbing the Zhengjin spiritual energy, the 5th level of spiritual restriction was derived. As for the courtyard, Su Junming clearly did not destroy it. Even if you don't have any use for it yourself, it's still good to give it to your disciples. Arrive at Wuzangfeng Cave Heaven. Have you finished sorting the loot? Renwuji came up and asked. He casually threw some yin-yang and hardware spiritual materials to him. Watch Huoyan, I'll go out. Renwuji waved his hand casually. Go on, go on. It's like this every time. When will it be my turn to go out and have fun? Su Junming ignored his complaints and left the Wuzang Peak Cave. After checking the direction, he flew straight towards the North Pole. The light escaped as fast as lightning, and 3 hours later, it appeared in the ice-covered North Sea. It's summer now, and the North Sea is at its warmest time of the year. However, he arrived at an unlucky time. At this moment, there was lightning and thunder in the North Sea, and huge waves more than 10 feet high were rolling down, crashing down like mountains and oceans. The astonishing sound of the waves, like continuous rolling thunder, shook the world. Huh! A fishing boat was sinking and floating, stumbling in the wind, rain, and rough waves, as if it would be swallowed by the waves at any time. Uncle Third, the left front flag is about to fall. A half-grown boy with his upper body naked and his bare feet slumped on the board of the boat shouted anxiously at the top of his voice. Above the cabin, there was an old man with gray hair wearing a worn-out sweatshirt. His expression was tense, and his eagle-like eyes were staring at the huge waves coming ahead. The 5 fingers under his feet were bent like hooks, tightly clasping the deck, as if his body was nailed to it. His hands, rough and darkened by the sun, firmly grasped the steering wheel. A sudden turn. The tail rudder rotates. The slender bow turned instantly, and the strong bow instantly cut into the huge waves at a precise right angle. The hull of the ship instantly tilted up, and the raging waves seemed to turn it over entirely. Everyone's hearts rose to their throats along with the upturned bow of the ship. Boom, the bow of the ship dropped and the hull of the ship went downwards. The old man breathed a sigh of relief. It's finally over. Crash, a washbasin-sized seawater fell down, and the ship's plank made a dong-dong sound. The old man wiped the seawater from his face vigorously and shouted. Lao Wu, forget about the trawl and go help Xiao Hai. Nu. A strong man with dark skin looked at the trawling net in his hand and felt uncomfortable. This was the guy they were eating. If you don't care, it will definitely be gone if the wind and waves come up. But if your life is gone, nothing is left. He gritted his teeth and spread his thick hands. He stepped on the deck with his bare feet and walked towards the boy. At this moment, on the dark sea surface in the distance, a huge wave suddenly surged, and everyone's expressions changed. Fur seal. The old man looked ugly and felt hopeless. People who run into the sea are most afraid of encountering seal waves. This kind of wave is long and high, and if it hits it, the boat will be destroyed and people will die. Third uncle. Looking at the desperate faces, the old man suddenly grabbed the steering wheel with both hands, the veins in his hands were exposed, and he roared ferociously. TMD, please hold on tight. Even if we die, we sea runners can't recognize bears. The determination in the old man's tone instantly infected everyone. A wave of hot blood flowed from the bottom of my heart throughout my body like lightning. The despair disappeared, and his eyes became crazy and determined. The dilapidated fishing boat, like a knight surrounded by thousands of troops, rushed toward the huge waves lonely and bravely. He was in mid-air, watching this scene. Su Junming nodded appreciatively. Your courage is commendable. Let's save you. He stretched out his hand and a blue light flew out from behind his head. After leaving his side, the blue light quickly expanded. In an instant, a huge pillar, 100 feet long, 30 feet wide, and completely aqua blue, appeared between the sky and the earth. Giant pillars streak across the sea quickly. The seal wave, which was several kilometers long and more than 10 feet high, disappeared in an instant. After advancing to the 10 spiritual taboos, the space within the Shuiju divine light is hundreds of miles long, making it easy to contain this huge wave. Take back the divine light of water. Looking at the storm surging between the sky and the earth, Su Junming pointed his finger. The divine light of the Sunda wind and the divine light of thunder complement each other, and countless wind and thunder energy are contained by the two. Gradually, the sound of wind between heaven and earth became smaller, and the thunder stopped. Thank you, Immortal, for saving my life. The old man knelt down with excitement. The others followed him. After Su Junming nodded slightly, he withdrew the two divine lights, his body fell, and instantly submerged into the sea. Third uncle, are there really gods? The young man asked curiously. Of course, didn't you see it just now? The young man nodded and then said yearningly. It would be great if I could become a god. Haha, you better go fishing. In a few years, you will marry a wife, have a few kids, and serve your mother well. This is a serious life. The young man pursed his lips, with a look of dissatisfaction on his face, but he didn't say much. After the disaster, everyone was very happy, and laughter rang out again on the fishing boat. This time they ran far and gained a lot. As long as they go back, they are sure to make a fortune. Su Junming, who successfully rescued them, has now reached the deep sea. Use the divine light of Shuiju to perform water escape. Without a cup of tea, I came to 3,000 meters of water. The water here is extremely cold and there is very little life. However, the only people who can survive here are physically strong creatures. A giant whale 10 feet long. The extremely ferocious great white shark with its mouth full of fangs. The devil's chapter is the size of a mountain and its tentacles are over 3 feet thick. An electric eel that is more than 10 feet long and covered with lightning. No one is easy to mess with. Call. A giant Zhang noticed Su Junming's presence, and its thick tentacles wrapped around him like lightning. A grain of yellow rice flies out of Danshan. The Dharma realm of the universe. The powerful swallowing power spread along the giant chapter's tentacles. Sensing the danger, the latter retracted his tentacles and prepared to escape. Before he could take action, Huang Liangmai put the hood under his head, and the giant chapter was sucked in instantly. Looking at these deep-sea monsters who only know how to kill all day long, Su Junming's heart moved. 365 grains of yellow rice flew out with lightning. The tyranny of the high-grade spiritual weapon was not something that these creatures with weak bodies and weak souls could resist. In less than half a cup of tea, all the giant monsters within 100 miles were wiped out. Who dares to cause trouble in my Hideo Gorge? Following the angry and loud voice, a giant snake nearly 40 feet long, black at the top and white at the bottom, with 2 tentacles sprouting from the corners of its lips, and which had already begun to transform into a dragon, flew out from the black gorge below. The sea water was surging, rushing along with the giant snake. Su Junming, who had seen the memory of Whale Sea, knew that this black snake was called Black Horn. He was a demon cultivator in the middle stage of the Golden Core, and his status in Bihai was second only to Whale Sea. Looking at the young Taoist priest who was covered in blue light and dressed in cyan robes, He Jiao felt angry and fearful in his heart. These giant sea monsters in Black Knife Gorge were all collected through their hard work. They are usually raised here so that one day they can turn into monsters and enhance the strength of the Bihai monster clan. It's good now that they were almost wiped out by this young Taoist. Who is your excellency? We, the Bihai monster clan, have always been independent of the world. Boom. Before it could finish speaking, a bell like a yellow bell rang, and He Jiao instantly felt that 3 souls were wandering, 7 souls were far away, and he lost consciousness. Su Junming's magic power activated the giant bell that transformed into yellow rice and expanded rapidly, taking in the black horn. Since he had already made up his mind to kill, he didn't bother to waste any more words. The escape light fell into the Black Knife Gorge. In the deep gorge that stretches for 5 or 6 miles, is 2 to 3 miles wide, and is hundreds of meters deep, the water is cold and there are cliffs on both sides. Su Junming took a brief look at it and flew straight towards a huge hole 3 feet wide and 2 feet high, shining with silver light, on the mountain wall not far away. He flew in and felt light. The sea fell behind like an undulating wall of water. He looked up at the silver beads as big as a sea bowl on the top of the cave. Spiritual weapon level water repellent bead. I looked at it with interest for a few times, but didn't move for the time being. Continuing inward along the cave, about 100 meters later, a large cave with an area of 5 acres appeared in front of us. 108 luminous pearls are inlaid on the top of the cave, illuminating every detail of the entire cave. In Nyata's cave, there are 2 large copper chairs. Behind them is a red coral that is about 1 foot high and as red as blood. On the stone table next to it, there are silver pearls as big as a sea bowl. On both sides were giant clams as big as millstones. All kinds of rare treasures in the deep sea that are treasured by ordinary people and even the spiritual world can be seen here. After Su Junming admired it, he walked around the giant red coral and walked towards the back cave. After more than 10 meters, a larger cave appeared in front of us. The cave, which is as large as 100 acres, is filled with corals of various sizes and colors. These corals grow like a forest, illuminating the entire cave with thousands of colors and making it extremely beautiful. After passing through the coral forest and crossing a 100-meter-long tunnel, the scene in front of me changed. Inside the 3-acre cave, the aura is extremely rich. There is a small lake the size of an acre field in the middle. A stone lotus protrudes from the center of the lake. On the stone lotus is placed a red talisman that is 5 fingers wide and 1 foot long. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 288. Chapter 283 Exchange. Rich and obscure spiritual ideas emanated from the spiritual talisman. Su Junming flicked his fingers, and a flash of spiritual light flew towards Shi Lian. With a buzz sound, an icy blue light shield emerged from the stone lotus, blocking Su Junming's spiritual light. Restricted. As soon as he activated the Danshan Hushan magic talisman, he stretched out his right palm, and a black space channel appeared in front of him. Stretching his palm in, the next moment he appeared above the stone lotus. He grabbed the red talisman and took it out. Rich spiritual energy emanates from the red talisman. He frowned. Seal up. A transparent light shield enveloped the spiritual talisman. The release of spiritual energy suddenly stopped. Sighed slightly. The concentration of spiritual energy in the nascent soul red talisman far exceeds that of this world. Therefore, once you leave an environment rich in spiritual energy, the spiritual energy contained in it will be released. Therefore, the former magic weapons and caves gradually fell in rank due to lack of enough spiritual energy to nourish them. Because the spiritual talisman requires less spiritual energy, it can be maintained in an environment rich in spiritual energy. Divine consciousness immersed. Northern Dark Light Sword, the 5 characters reflected in the sea of consciousness. His face showed joy. The power of the sword talisman is equivalent to the Taoist method of the 9 transformations of Yuanying. When it matches that restriction, its power increases even more. Fortunately, Jinghai didn't have this talisman with him at the beginning, otherwise he would have been in trouble. After holding it in his hand for a while, he moved the bronze mirror silently. It can be clearly seen that under the stone lotus, a 100-foot-long spiritual vein transforms pure spiritual energy. This spiritual vein is bigger than the one in his Jufeng mountain. After thinking for a moment, he took a step forward. The body instantly appeared above the Black Knife Gorge. With a finger, Jufeng Mountain's drip drop flashed through a silver light and flew into the top of Haidao Gorge. The light flashed and turned into a 100-foot mountain. He stretched out his hand and a black stream of light flew from Jufeng Mountain into his palm. Looking at the bronze sword in his hand, Su Junming pulled it out with a choking sound. This broken army sword has never been used since it was obtained from Zhao Kuo. I'll test your skills today. Sword in hand. Su Junming, a disciple of Mission Nanzang, respectfully invites Emperor Guansheng to come to me. I am as urgent as the law. The power of heaven and earth surged in, and the aura on his body rose rapidly, breaking through the barrier between the golden elixir and Yuanying in an instant. With a wave of Pa Jun's sword, the sword light surged, and the sharp sword energy was like a huge silver lightning, spanning nearly 300 feet in the air, drawing a circle with his right arm. Like a hot knife cutting through butter, the mountain suddenly separates. The escaping light flew up and fell straight to the bottom of Black Knife Gorge. The sword energy revived, and the silver light surged. The hard mountain was cut off in an instant. After 2 full strength strikes, Su Junming took a breath. After all, the borrowed power was not cultivated by oneself through hard work, and when used, there was a sense of sluggishness. Putting away the broken army sword, Su Junming quickly formed seals with his hands, and the bright yellow aura became stronger and stronger. For a moment, he paused in his hand and drank in his mouth. Earth Emperor Dao Hunyuan Seal. Jugfeng Mountain shines brightly, and a strong suction force envelopes Black Knife Gorge. The earth trembled, earth and rocks splashed, and the waves in the deep sea surged. The earthquake-like situation caused various deep-sea creatures to flee quickly. Wow, a 300-foot conical mountain slowly pulled out from the ground. The broken boulders quickly stuck together, and the volume of the stone mountain expanded rapidly, quickly exceeding 3,000 feet. Su Junming's magic power surged and flew into Jugfeng Mountain along with the stone mountain. Boom! With a deafening sound, the giant conical mountain fell down, dozens of miles away from the third mountain. In addition to the 9 peaks at the beginning of Jugfeng Mountain, this conical peak is the second foreign peak. Looking at the mountain peak that suppressed Zhao Jun's ghost, Su Junming pointed. Lightning uprooted a huge stone monument. The 3 words suppressing Demon Mountain were quickly condensed. Pointing to the conical mountain peak, a stone tablet rises from the ground, with the words Sihai Mountain shining brightly. With a move of his hand, 100 feet of spiritual veins flew out and quickly merged into the main peak of Jugfeng Mountain. When the two are combined, Jugfeng Mountain's spiritual veins instantly reach 200 feet. Su Junming thought about it briefly, and then changed the formula in his palm. The main peak's spiritual veins branch out into 8 branches and flow into the 8 surrounding peaks. Feeling that the spiritual energy concentration in Jugfeng Mountain had increased again, Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. After leaving Jugfeng Mountain and looking at the disappearing Black Knife Gorge, Su Junming put away the divine art, mixed the magic power, and drove the escape light to the sea. Looking at the sea surface causing huge waves due to vibrations on the bottom of the sea. The Shuahua divine light flew up from the back of his head and brushed the sea surface a few times to collect the excess waves to avoid causing disaster. After calming down the huge waves on the sea, Su Junming flew straight towards Luofu Mountain, the southern sect of Mission Mountain. Flight is extinct, thousands of miles in an instant. Come to the Shangqing Hall. Su Junming would like to see the master. Not long after, Zhao Lai's figure appeared on the head's throne. Junming, tomorrow is the date for the crusade against the White Lotus section. I know. I came to the leader this time to inquire about something. You say. I have a high-grade spiritual weapon with 9 spiritual taboos here, and I want to exchange spiritual objects with the section. Zhao Lai was moved. A high-quality spiritual weapon from the 9 spiritual forbidden spirits. After Su Junming nodded, he stretched out his left palm. One pole is 1 foot and 2 feet long, and a blue 3-stranded steel fork appears in the hand. Zhao Lai couldn't sit still anymore, and with a step, he came to Su Junming's side and took the 3-strand fork over. After some spiritual awareness. Sure enough, it is a high-grade spiritual weapon from the 9 spiritual forbidden spirits. Looking at Su Junming, where did it come from? Li Xingfang, the leader of the White Lotus sect, was entangled with the North Sea demon King Jinghai and offended the fire eyes of Tianxing's Hu. I drove him back and beheaded him. These 3 steel forks are Jinghai's personal spiritual weapons. Zhao Lai's breathing suddenly became confused and he looked at Su Junming with wide eyes. You, beheaded Li Xingfang. Exactly. Zhao Lai took a deep breath. Although this nephew Su had done many things that shocked him, the killing of Li Xingfang this time was particularly intense. After all, the leader of the White Lotus sect has not only reached the peak of golden core cultivation, but also escaped from the 3 mountain talisman sects with serious injuries in the battle 100 years ago. It was so difficult to kill her. What's more, there is also the North Sea demon King Jinghai who has reached the same peak level of Jindan. Junming, is your cultivation really only at level 8 of the realm of seeing the truth? Zhao Lai couldn't help but ask. Su Junming smiled and nodded. I just have a deep understanding of the true art of divine fighting. If I use my full strength, I can display the combat power of the nascent soul realm in a short time. Zhao Ligong's steady breathing became chaotic again. His expression kept changing, after a long time. Master Nephew, is really good at cultivation. Thank you for the compliment, Master. After Yun Danfan finished speaking, I wonder if the sect is willing to make an exchange during this time of trouble. Of course I am willing, but I am afraid that there are not enough spiritual materials in the sect's treasure house for exchange. Master, can you take me to see it? Zhao Lai nodded. You come with me. The two of them walked to the left side of the Shangqing Hall. This was the last time Su Junming remembered that he used the yin-swallowing jar to exchange for the yin-yang spirit stone. Zhao Lai raised his sapphire staff and swiped it, the spiritual light flickered, and a portal appeared on the smooth wall. Step inside. There are 36 stone lotuses floating in the hall. With a wave of the sapphire staff, the stone lotus slowly fell to the ground. Most of them are empty, with only 7 lotuses shining with spiritual light. Take a look. Su Junming took a look and found that most of them were Dongxian middle grade and low grade spiritual materials. There are 2 pieces of Dongxuan's top grade spiritual materials, a handful of 5-color spiritual soil and a green animal horn. There is only 1 Dongxian top grade spiritual material. The obsidian spiritual stone has dual attributes of earth and wood. After a quick glance. Master, since our sect has many Dongxian level spiritual materials, why don't you practice a few more spiritual weapons to suppress the sect? The number of weapon refiners who can refine spiritual weapons is no more than 1 palm in the entire cultivation world, and the price is high. In addition, the spiritual weapons used to suppress sects are not much more expensive. Such as our 5 elements diagram and 9 elder immortal capital divine fire seal are top quality spiritual weapons that fulfill the 12 treasure prohibitions. Raise your hand. Although this sapphire staff only has 7 spiritual taboos now, if it hadn't been damaged when wiping out the demons in the South China Sea 300 years ago, it would have been a top quality spiritual weapon with 11 taboos. Zhao Lai's face showed pride. Our mission Southern sect is one of the top sects in the world of cultivation. The spiritual weapons used to suppress the sect must at least be high-grade spiritual weapons. Seeing Su Junming's calm look next to him, Zhao Lai suddenly remembered that this nephew was a master who could practice spiritual weapons and held the best spiritual weapons in his hands. Now I have obtained a Nea Hai Cha with 9 spiritual taboos, which is not very rare. I brought it here to exchange for spiritual materials. No matter how good the spiritual weapon was in front of him, it would only have limited appeal. Pride gone. Junming, all the cave-level spiritual materials of our sect are here. Which one do you want? His eyes swept over the 7 spiritual materials. If you want it, Su Junming definitely wants it. But if you exchange it for Neahika, except for the obsidian spiritual stone, none of them are worth it. The black radiant spirit stone is a spiritual material with dual attributes of earth and wood, and is a top-grade spiritual material. The Neahika is only a top-grade spiritual weapon. Although spiritual weapons are generally twice as valuable as spiritual materials, the Neahika is far less precious than the obsidian spirit stone. After thinking about it for a while. Master, I don't want the spiritual materials anymore. I hope to use this Neahika in exchange, and then give me 2 or 3 copies of each from the sect's medicine garden and spiritual plants. Is this true? Su Junming nodded affirmatively. He is now also a master of alchemy, and his only dilemma is that there are not enough types of herbs on hand. Mission Nanzong has accumulated 2,000 years of accumulation. Basically, most of the elixirs and spiritual plants in the entire spiritual world are cultivated in Luofu Mountain. The only difference is the level. If you can get a few of each, Plant them in Jufeng Mountain. With the rich aura environment there, the growth is definitely not bad. After a few decades, he would have enough elixirs and spiritual plants to make elixirs. I promise you. Afraid that he would regret it, Zhao Lai said quickly. Separate 2 or 3 copies of each item without cutting off the roots. In exchange for a high-grade spiritual weapon from the 9 spiritual taboos, the foundation of the Mission Southern sect will undoubtedly be greatly enhanced. I personally took him to the Luofu Mountain Medicine Garden to pick elixirs, and then to the 5 Elements Cave, where I transplanted several Dongsuan-level elixirs. If it is an isolated copy of a single plant, Su Junming will break off a few branches or collect a few seeds. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 289. Chapter 284, Millions of Kinjia. After collecting the elixir and spiritual roots, I looked at the huge willow tree in the distance that was mostly dead. Master, I wonder if this willow tree can be exchanged. This is the immortal root left by the ancestor, and it cannot be replaced according to the rules. There was a pause. However, if you can cultivate a top-quality spiritual weapon that is compatible with any one of our Golden Light Bagua, Swanyan Ghost Slaying Sword, Shangqing Divine Thunder Technique, and Tianyi Divine Water Scripture, it will be the 12 spiritual taboos. I will make the decision and cut a main branch for you. Only the best spiritual weapons that conform to the 7 fundamental Taoist methods of mission can exert their greatest power in the hands of mission monks. If Su Junming can really cultivate it, mission will undoubtedly add a sect-suppressing spiritual weapon that is equivalent to the positive and negative 5 elements diagram and the 9 heavenly capital divine fire seal. A powerful spiritual weapon that allows an ordinary monk in the realm of peeping to instantly possess the peak combat power of the realm of peeping, is undoubtedly more valuable than a dying willow. In the environment of the end of heaven's law, the once glorious roots are no longer glorious. Su Junming's eyes brightened slightly and he nodded slowly. This willow is a fairy root. Even if it is just a main branch, it is of extraordinary value. As long as it is watered with spiritual water, cultivated with spiritual soil, and then changed to an environment rich in spiritual energy, it can be reborn as a fairy root. If he only planned to stay in this world, he would not pay attention to Yangliu. But after seeing the world where the Lord Huosang lived, he had already made up his mind to leave this world after his body and magic power reached the peak of the realm of seeing the truth. At that time, a fairy root will bring huge benefits. Out of the 5 Elements Cave. Master, Li Xingfang of the White Lotus sect is dead, and the Saint Wen Ruyi was also killed by me. I will not go to Ryukyu in the future. After reading Li Xingfang's memories, he knew what the Ryukyu Island White Lotus main altar was like. Although there are still many good things, he does not intend to occupy them all. As Zhao Lai said, no one can escape the 1003 great tribulations. If he changes too much, more unexpected variables will arise. In this case, he is no longer involved. That's fine. Then go back to Tianxing's Hu, there is no room for error in the Fire Eye, Zhao Lai said. Su Junming nodded, said goodbye, turned around and left the hall. Looking at his leaving figure, Zhao Lai sighed, his expression slightly complicated. He thought that his character and cultivation were not bad, but in front of Master Su's nephew, he couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Regardless of talent or luck, Su Junming is surprisingly good. After silently reciting the Pure Heart Sutra to calm the distracting thoughts in my heart, my body disappeared deep into the Shangqing Hall. First, he went to Muwuja to visit Uncle Ju's family. After spending a few days with his second disciple, Su Junming returned to Tianxing's Hu. Saibei Desert. Hundreds of cars drove away in the distance, kicking up huge clouds of sand and dust. After the convoy stopped, soldiers wearing khaki military uniforms and gray military uniforms quickly jumped out of the vehicles and gathered into formation under the command of their respective officers. In an instant, Tens of thousands of troops covered the entire desert. Soon, countless tents were set up. It was getting late, and a huge black dragon came flying over. The black dragon landed on the ground and transformed into a majestic emperor with a black helmet and black armor, a crown on his head and a black dragon cloak on his back. The shocking strangeness naturally caused the entire military camp to become turbulent. Quiet. Following the huge sound waves, a tall, middle-aged man wearing a gray military uniform and with a majestic aura flew out from the center of the military camp, came to the black-armored emperor, and knelt down on one knee. "Your Majesty Yang Fan, please see your Majesty." At the same time, an old man wearing a black robe, with a thin face and cold eyes suddenly appeared in front of the emperor. "My lord, Su Fu is here to see the king. Everyone get up. Promise." As the two stood up, a dagger with a cold light suddenly appeared in Yang Fan's palm and stabbed straight towards the emperor's chest. Click. An invisible barrier blocked the dagger. The man in black next to him struck out with a palm, powerful mana surged, and Yang Fan was instantly knocked away. With a flash of light, Yang Fan disappeared, and a woman wearing a purple outfit with picturesque features appeared. Aster's daughter. Looking at each other hatefully. "Hunjun, if you kill my parents, I, Guo Yuan, will not let you go even to death." Yang Zheng looked cold. "Then go die." Drawing the sword and slashing horizontally, the tyrannical sword energy was like a huge silver lightning, slashing straight towards the opponent. Guo Yuan's face turned pale. The power of the sword energy was too strong, and she couldn't resist it at all. Fortunately, she was well prepared when she came to carry out the assassination. She threw out a crimson talisman and an extremely strong shield was instantly formed. While blocking the sword energy, he slapped the magic bag. A middle-aged man wearing a gray military uniform appeared in her hand. Judging from his appearance, it was Yang Fan whom she had disguised before. "Let me go or I'll kill him." Yang Zheng's expression did not change. Madness. He drew his sword without any scruples and struck again. The sword energy was several times more powerful. Guo Yuan's expression changed drastically and she ignored Yang Fan. She quickly activated the talisman and flew away. Boom, the yellow sand was flying and it was a mess. Guo Yuan said in disbelief as she looked at Yang Fan who was cut into two pieces by the sword energy, bleeding all over the ground, and dying. "You are so cruel, you even kill your own people. I can only say that you are stupid. Die." After Yang Zheng finished speaking, 5 football-sized balls of light appeared behind him, white, yellow, blue, red and green. The white light ball is bright and powerful, and its sharp energy rises into the sky. The majestic white sharp golden energy was like an angry wave, pressing straight towards Guo Yuan. The latter's expression changed drastically, and he quickly took out the treasure from the bottom of the box. A bronze mirror with silver light shines brightly. Guo Yuan's figure disappeared instantly. The mighty white light exploded the sand dunes. A huge ditch, more than 10 feet wide and 100 feet long, appeared on the spot with flying sand and dust. "Your Majesty, do you want me to kill that woman?" Su Fu said respectfully. "No need. Although the mirror in her hand is just an imitation, it still has some of the magic of the Kunlun mirror. Unless you can understand the Hushan Dao or make preparations in advance, it will be difficult to capture her. After all, this girl is Ziwan's daughter. She has a body of half-immortal and has superior qualifications. Your Majesty, isn't she worried about the danger of raising a tiger? I can kill Ziwan, let alone her daughter." After a pause, he looked at the army in the distance. "Su Fu, I asked you to lie dormant in Japan. After 2,000 years, you won't just train me a few soldiers and generals, right?" "Don't worry, Your Majesty. I have trained 10,000 alchemists in Japan and are ready to serve Your Majesty at any time. In addition, the people of Japan have ordered their ministers to imitate the military merit system and train millions of troops. As long as the king gives the order, they can all come out to attack the world for the king and create greater glory for our great Qin. Yang Zhen nodded with satisfaction. Transfer your alchemists over. If you want to unify the world and become the human emperor who can command the lich, humans, gods, and ghosts, you must first conquer the world of cultivation. Yes, I will give you the order right now. Go. I excuse myself. After Su Fu bowed and saluted, heavy black mist surged from his body and disappeared into the ground. Looking at the direction Su Fu was leaving, Yang Zhen narrowed his eyes slightly. I hope you won't make a mistake, otherwise don't blame me for not remembering old feelings. He glanced at the army on the opposite side and flew up. Arriving in mid-air, looking at the endless rolling yellow sand below. With the help of magical power, a jade seal of 4 inches in size and 5 dragons rising up from the Beihui point on the top of the head. If you are ordered by heaven, you will live forever, the 8-character eclipse text shines brightly. The aura on Yang Zheng's body grew rapidly. In an instant, the nascent soul barrier was broken through, and the tyrannical aura spread for hundreds of miles. After reaching the peak, Yang Zheng's eyes were like lightning, and a ball of light with rich colors of white, yellow, red, green, blue, gold, wood, water, fire, and earth appeared behind him. The hands made a secret, because the speed was so fast that there was a faint sound of thunder. Suddenly, the decision was made. Wake up! The vast 5-color brilliance enveloped most of the desert. There was a bang, the sand sank, and the sound of clang footsteps sounded. Countless terracotta warriors and horses, clad in armor, emerged from the ground like a tide. The broken battle flags roared fiercely, and the sound of golden drums was earth-shattering. The evil spirit soaring into the sky stirred up the wind and clouds, even covering the sun. Looking at the millions of terracotta warriors and horses occupying the desert like an ocean, Yang Zheng felt endless domineering energy. With an army of 1 million people accompanying him to conquer the world, there is no need to worry about achieving hegemony. Swish, a dozen figures wearing armor appeared in front of Yang Zheng. Your Majesty, Wang Jian, I have met the king. My lord, Wang Ben, pay homage to your Majesty. My lord, Meng Tian, I have met the king. My lord, Li Xian, pays homage to the king. More than a dozen Qin generals who accompanied Yang Zheng in his battles across the world appeared in mid-air. As Yang Zheng waved his hand, a stone urn appeared in the air. As soon as the mana was activated, countless milky white streams of vitality emerged. As Yang Zheng's fingers changed, the water flow divided into more than a dozen streams, which were absorbed by Wang Jian and others. Visible to the naked eye, the blood on them turned from withered to rich, and in an instant, a tyrannical aura that was no less than the peak of the golden core filled the air. The remaining water flow turned into raindrops all over the sky and flew into the millions of Qin warriors below. As strands of qi and blood condensed and the clay was fired, the dead Qin terracotta warriors seemed to come to life, and the clay bodies seemed to turn into flesh and blood. The endless energy and blood intertwined with the evil energy, forming a purple-black lead cloud that was thousands of miles wide in the sky. The tyrannical momentum soared straight into the sky and the earth. Thank you, Your Majesty. After nodding with satisfaction, you lords, you should follow me to fight the world again and rebuild the great Qin thousands of miles of rivers and mountains. Follow the king and build the Qin dynasty again. The shouts of millions of troops crossed the Great Wall and shocked the entire cultivation world. Sorry, I was a little late this morning due to something else. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 290. Chapter 285, Get ready for the final disaster. The violent sound of gold and iron clashing shook the whole world. Qin Zhong, who was holding a war spear, was shaken several dozen feet before he stopped retreating. Just when he was about to rush forward and continue fighting, he saw the master holding an iron gun and standing aside with a frown, but did not take the opportunity to catch up with him and beat him. Fly over carefully. Master, what's wrong? Let's get here first today. Throwing it away casually, the iron gun fell into Lupin's hand. These days, when he has nothing to do, he competes with Qin Zhong to hone his combat skills. With the help of the bronze mirror, Qin Zhong could only feel abused in front of him. Fortunately, this apprentice is as wise as a fool, and he is diligent. With the help of the elixirs he provided, his cultivation has improved greatly. After leaving Jufeng Mountain, Ren Wuji appeared in front of him instantly. Did you feel it? Nodded. Go out and have a look. Su Junming urged Hu Tianshen to perform magic, and Ren Wuji urged Zhou Guangjing. The two of them soon arrived thousands of feet above Tianxing's Hu. Instantly I saw the black and red clouds rising straight into the sky from the north. What a strong evil spirit and energy of blood! Ren Wuji exclaimed. Su Junming's pupils shrank. When Zhao Kuo led the Changping 45 Ghost Army when it was born, although it was powerful, it was far less than half of what it is now. 1003 Great Tribulations. Su Junming murmured to himself. Suddenly, a white feathered crane flew from the south, fell into his palm and turned into a talisman. After taking a look, his brows instantly wrinkled. What's the matter? Ren Wuji asked. The Dragon Emperor Yingzheng was born, and the three sects of Buddhism, Taoism, and Xianzong gathered at the Great Wall in northern Shaanxi to jointly control the Qin army. Is Yingzheng so powerful? Ren Wuji asked in surprise. If the entire cultivation world can unite, Dragon Emperor Yingzheng's army will naturally be extraordinary. After this battle is over, the 1003 Great Tribulations will probably be over. Su Junming nodded. You stay and guard the fire. I'm leaving. Be careful. No. A ray of red light rose into the sky and quickly disappeared in the south. Come to the Qing Palace on Luofu Mountain. All the cultivators of the Mission Southern sect gathered here, including Sun Changjing, who guarded the 1,000-year-old red fruit in Changchun Valley. Zhao Lai sat at the top with a majestic aura. His eyes met Uncle Ju's, and after saying hello, he sat down under him. Zhao Lai's majestic gaze swept over everyone. Fellow disciples, Le Guandao spreads the message to various factions. The Dragon Emperor Yingzheng destroyed the West Kunlun Yaokai faction. Now, in the Qiubuqi Desert in the north of Guzhiyuan, he has summoned millions of Qin troops, which has become a serious danger. Now there are 467 sects of Buddhism, Daoism, and Suandao. They will fight against the Dragon Emperor at the Great Wall in northern Shaanxi tomorrow. As the top sect in the world of spiritual practice, our Mission Southern sect is bound to fight this battle. Qian Dinglin, the fire Taoist sitting second to Zhao Lai's right hand, said. Dragon Emperor Yingzheng practices the Huangji Jingshi Shu not only to unify the common people, but also to bring all Buddha, devil, Tao, ghosts, and gods into his palms to become the supreme emperor of heaven. This move goes against my Taoist ideal of being born in the world. If he succeeds, my mission will definitely be destroyed. Wu Yuanzi, the Master Mu who was in charge of the law enforcement hall, nodded in agreement. Dragon Emperor Yingzheng is cruel and easy to kill. If we win this battle, mission will survive. If we lose, Luofu Mountain's 1,000-year legacy will be wiped out. Zhao Lai looked at Su Junming. In the entire mission, except for the drunk Taoist Jiao Malong, he has the highest cultivation level. In particular, Uncle Ju and Master Su Junming came from the same family and had a close relationship. Moreover, Uncle Ju's wife, the concubine, is also Sun Changjing's direct disciple. The three are close to each other and their attitudes must be considered. I have no objection to the decision made by the headmaster and all my uncles. However, my uncle's dantian was broken by Wen Ruyi last time. Although he has maintained his cultivation in the realm of peeping, he has not recovered yet. After a pause, Su Junming spoke calmly but resolutely. So this time I hope to let him stay in the sect. Junming, you. Uncle Ju was moved in his heart, and he didn't want to take advantage of this, but looking at his nephew's unquestionable expression, he couldn't say anything. I agree with senior nephew Lin's decision, Sun Changjing said. Let Mr. Lin stay. Our mission Nan sect must have a person from the true realm who can stay and take charge of the overall situation. The drunk Taoist Chiao Malong, who had never spoken, opened his sleepy eyes. As the person with the highest seniority and highest cultivation level in Mission Nanzang, his words hold the most weight. And Zheng Nazai, you stay too. Zheng Qian was anxious. Uncle Master, I am not injured. I know. But the inheritance of our Mission Nanzang cannot be broken. Chiao Malong waved his hand, a trace of solemnity showing on his old face. Dragon Emperor Ying Zhen was a powerful person who reached the level of immortal 2000 years ago. If it weren't for the female immortal Ziwan sent by the Jade Emperor of Heaven to the lower realm, there would have been no Taoist sect in this realm. Now that the Dragon Emperor has made a comeback, even though the law of heaven is at an end, his strength will definitely be unimaginably high. Otherwise, with the proud nature of the old guy Lu Guan Dao Xuanyu, he would definitely not be asking for help from all over the world so quickly. So, when we go to northern Shaanxi this time, not only you are going, but I am going too. Master Uncle. He waved his hand to interrupt Zhao Lai. In our mission Nanzang, at critical moments, there has never been an example of the old guy hiding behind and letting the younger people take the lead. Back then, Patriarch Ziwen sacrificed his life to kill the evil dragon in the South China Sea. Patriarch Zhongyuan risked his life to annihilate the evil dragon in the South Xinjiang. Teach. The ancestors of all generations have strictly abided by the religious rules, sacrificed their lives for the righteous way, and for mission. Now that we have reached the old way, we naturally cannot retreat. Otherwise, we will go underground. How will we face the ancestors of mission? Seeing the character displayed by this normally unknown senior patriarch who was guarding the Patriarch Hall, everyone present could not help but think of the glorious deeds of mission's ancestors in slaying demons and slaying demons throughout the ages in the sex classics. A heat surged in my heart. We are willing to follow my uncle, maintain the peace of the righteous way, protect the people of the world, kill the Dragon Emperor, and not fall into the prestige of our mission ancestors. Wu Yuanzi, who had a cold face and a warm heart, stood up first and said. What senior brother Wu said is true. We are willing to follow the legacy of mission's ancestors, annihilate the Dragon Emperor, and protect the people of the world. Chiao Malong nodded happily. It's good that you can abide by mission's injunctions and think of the common people. However, my mission heritage cannot be lost. So Lin Ziazi and Zheng Nazai remain in the mission general altar. I will obey my uncle's order. Don't think that nothing will happen if you stay. The responsibility of guarding the Luofu mountain altar rests entirely on your shoulders. In addition, if we fail to come back, you will be responsible for passing on mission, Chiao Malong said in a deep voice. Master and all my fellow sects will definitely be able to win the battle, Zheng Qian said. Chiao Malong laughed. Think about defeat before you win. Okay, Master, I'll leave this to you. I have to go back and deal with some trivial matters. I'll see you in the Shangqing Hall tomorrow morning. After saying that, the figure gradually blurred and disappeared. Zhao Lai looked serious. Everyone, you must have heard what my uncle said. There is still one day left, so you can each go back and deal with the matters at hand. Tomorrow at midnight, we will gather here to build the Great Wall of Northern Shaanxi. I will obey the master's orders. After leaving the Shangqing Hall, Uncle Ju pulled Su Junming, and the two flew towards Muyu. Sun Changjing quickly followed behind. After nodding to the two of them, he flew straight towards Muyu, obviously saying goodbye to his apprentice and aunt. "Dad, Master." Lin Zhenying, who had just celebrated her 5th birthday, trotted over. "Where's your mother?" Uncle Ju picked up his son. "Mother and Master Sun are talking inside." The little guy pouted and said with dissatisfaction on his face, "Mother doesn't want me to listen." Listening to the faint sobbing coming from inside, Su Junming said, "Uncle, you'd better go to my place." Uncle Ju nodded. "The annihilation of the Dragon Emperor this time will definitely be the most brutal battle since the beginning of the 1003 Great Tribulations. Whether he can survive is unknown. Some things must be explained clearly in advance." Obviously, Sun Changjing was explaining the funeral arrangements to his apprentice. Came to Su Junming's own Chongshan residence. Uncle Ju held his son, and Su Junming sat next to him. The two looked at the leafy pomegranate tree in the courtyard, and they both knew each other's character. He didn't say anything more about the catastrophe, let alone persuade the other party to change his mind. After a long time, Uncle Ju sighed. "I remember that I was still in Jiquan town when I first met you. So many years have passed in a flash. Back then, my uncle personally protected me when I entered Taoism." Su Junming nodded. "When you entered Taoism, you absorbed so much spiritual energy that any other person would have been bursting. But you were the only one who got through it safely. You have shown extraordinary performance since then, and now it is normal to have a high level of cultivation." After a pause, he looked at his nephew's profile. "Do you still want to talk to your master?" "No, let's wait until the catastrophe is over before telling you." Su Junming smiled lightly and said confidently, "Uncle, don't worry about me. Even if he unfortunately dies in battle during the catastrophe, there is still Renwuji as a retreat." Uncle Ju nodded. "Uncle, I believe you." Judging from his expression, he was just saying this in a comforting way. Su Junming didn't say much. It wasn't that he didn't believe Uncle Ju, but the fewer people knew about Uncle Ju's trump card, the better. The two chatted for a long time, mostly talking about interesting things they had gotten along with in the past. "We had dumplings at Uncle Ju's house in the evening. The next day, go to the Shangqing Hall. In addition to the 6 truth-seeing monks who are preparing to set off, there are also 47 innate monks. Needless to say, there is no need to say more about getting a glimpse of the true state. In the innate stage, there are mostly those monks of the Zun generation and K generation who have no hope of breaking through to the realm of seeing the reality. If they make meritorious deeds and are reincarnated in the future, the sect will guide them to start again. Not many disciples of the young Zhuang sect participated in the war. Except for Lu Changqing and Xiao Feixiu, who were strong disciples and had the ability to protect themselves, most of them were retained. Young disciples are the foundation of mission. Once there are too many casualties and there is a lack of support, the inheritance of mission will be endangered." Reporting to the leader, "All the disciples participating in the battle are here." A white-haired disciple with perfect innateness came over and said. Zhao Lai nodded. "Junior sister Zheng, junior nephew Lin, mission will be left to you." Zheng Qiang and Uncle Ju nodded solemnly. "Please rest assured, Master, we will defend Luofu Mountain to the death." After nodding with a smile, Zhao Lai turned his eyes. "Everyone, let's each take some of our disciples and set off." After saying that, he waved the sapphire staff in his hand, grabbed the 8 disciples, and then flew straight up and flew towards the north. Qiao Malong, Su Junming, Wu Yuanzi, and others each pinched some of their disciples and chased after them. In an instant, the previously bustling Shangqing Hall suddenly became empty and silent. "Senior nephew Lin, during this period, you and I will stay at the Shangqing Hall, right?" Uncle Ju nodded. The Shangqing Hall is the foundation of mission's 5 elements formation. If there is an invasion from a foreign enemy, the formation must be run here as soon as possible to protect the sect. In the past, this was Zhao Lai's responsibility, but now it falls on them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 291. Chapter 286, The Great Wall of Northern Shaanxi. Great Wall of Northern Shaanxi. The ancient Guancheng has not been repaired for many years and has become dilapidated by wind and sand erosion and scorching sun. Tough weeds grow from the cracks in the bricks, swaying in the wind under the setting sun. Suddenly, several streams of light shot from mid-air, breaking the tranquility here. The light fell, and an old Taoist priest with white beard and hair was revealed. If Su Junming were here, he would recognize that this old Taoist is the Leguan Taoist Xuanyu Taoist whom he met once in Changping last time. Rays of escaping light fell, and soon hundreds of monks in robes gathered around the old Taoist. Taoist Xuanyu showed two Tai Chi patterns in his pupils. After examining his surroundings for a moment, he nodded. "Let's camp here." Next to him, a Taoist wearing a purple Taoist robe with 3 strands of long beard on his chin nodded. "I'll set up the formation." After that, he turned and left. "Zi Yang, have all the factions been notified?" Returning to my uncle, the 3 sects of Buddhism, Taoism, and Xian, as well as the casual cultivators from the 2 rivers and the 4 seas, have all been notified. A young Taoist said respectfully. Taoist Xuanyu nodded, looking at the evil spirit and blood rising into the sky in the distance, with a hint of worry in his eyes. "Master, there is no need to worry. Although the Dragon Emperor's army is tyrannical, the combined power of the entire cultivation world will surely destroy him," a red-faced Taoist said. Xuanyu nodded. "Will Su Junming, the Chongshan Taoist from Mission Nanzang, come?" As soon as he said this, anyone who had experienced the Changping War would instantly think of the Mission Taoist who single-handedly defeated the 450,000 Zhao state ghost army. Headmaster Zhao Lai of Mission Nanzang didn't mention it, but this war is related to the survival of various sects in the spiritual world. I think the Master Chongshan will definitely not be absent. Taoist Xuanyu nodded. If he is here, we can increase our chances of winning this war by 10%. The red-faced Taoist said unconvinced. "Master, although this person is strong, our Leguan Dao is not weak either. In the last battle at Changping, even without his intervention, we were still able to suppress Zhao Kuo and his 450,000 Zhao ghost army. This person's name is Taoist Ziyu. He was in the late Jindan realm. During the last Changping War, he stayed behind in the section. He didn't see Su Junming with his own eyes, so he didn't like him." Taoist Xuanyu smiled and said nothing more. "At this time, there is no need to boost others' ambition and destroy your own prestige. As long as Su Junming comes to participate in this battle, it is enough." Suddenly, the sound of tearing air sounded. Everyone looked behind them at the same time, and saw 5 golden streams of light flying towards them in mid-air. "Master, he is from Chunyang sect. That guy from Dingyang is indeed a sincere gentleman. He's here so quickly." Old Taoist Xuanyu showed a smile on his face. After a short time, the stream of light fell to the ground, and hundreds of people wearing yellow robes walked out. At the front, an old Taoist with white beard and hair, dark face and long beard strode over. "Fellow Taoist Xuanyu, it's not too late for me to come." "Haha, we just arrived." After the 2 slapped each other on the head. "How is the Dragon Emperor's army doing now?" Old Taoist Xuanyu looked solemn. "You haven't attacked yet, you seem to be waiting for someone. The White Lotus sect has been wiped out by the Shangqing sections. Are there any demon sects left in the practice world?" Taoist Dingyang frowned. "Don't forget the Japanese and Westerners, they have always wanted to get involved in China." Taoist Dingyang nodded and looked at the surging blood and killing energy in the north. "With Dragon Emperor Yingzheng's pride, he will use these forces. Don't forget that he is the emperor, and he is used to using any means, Xuanyu Taoist said. Taoist Dingyang all took a look. The people from mission haven't arrived yet. Fellow Taoist, do you want to see if Master Chongshan is here? Taoist Dingyang nodded and said, this person has mastered the mission divine fighting art, and his strength is no less than that of the Yuanying realm. We must rely on this person to deal with the Dragon Emperor. Yes. Mission is so lucky to have such a person. It is also a blessing to the spiritual world. As soon as they finished speaking, the two of them looked at each other and looked towards the south. It seems like someone is here again. I wonder if you are from mission. After a short time, 9 rays of light fell, and more than 100 people wearing purple robes appeared. The first one was an old Taoist with a long sword on his back. Master Zhang. A person from the Celestial Master's way. I wonder if that sword is the Heavenly Master sword. Seeing the person coming, the surrounding Laguandeo and Chunyang sect disciples started talking incessantly. Before the 3 parties could say hello, another light flew from the sky. After landing, a group of monks wearing cassocks came out. As time went on, more and more monks flew in from all directions. Some are sects and some are casual cultivators. 200, 500, 1000, 3000. As more and more monks gathered, a ball of flashing spiritual energy that was hundreds of miles wide emerged in mid-air. Su Junming drove the escape light and looked down at the army of monks sitting cross-legged and meditating in the distance, his brows slightly raised. There are quite a few people. Let's go down. Zhao Lai, the leader, said hello, and a group of 6 people escaped from the light and flew down. It seems like someone from Mission Nanzong is here. Which one is Chongshan Master Su Junming? Have no idea. In the Battle of Changping, Su Junming became famous all over the world. Almost everyone in the cultivation world knows that Mission Nanzong has a strong man who can dominate the world. Under the attention of countless people, the light fell to the ground, revealing more than 50 disciples of Mission. Friend Xiao, long time no see. Old Taoist Xuanyu took the lead and walked straight towards Xiao Malong. As the senior with the highest level of cultivation and the longest generation in Mission, the drunken Taoist Xiao Malong is famous in the entire cultivation world. The younger generation didn't know much about him, but the older generation such as Taoist Xuanyu, Taoist Dingyang, and Master Zhang knew very well how powerful this ragged old guy was. Back then, when the Sanchen Talisman sects annihilated the White Lotus sect, at least half of the demons and monsters died under his thunder hammer. You guys are here early. After returning the courtesy, Xiao Malong smiled. But, we are close, so naturally we have to come early. An old monk in red cassock put his palms together and saluted, then turned his eyes. Presumably this is the Master Chongshan who put down the ghost trouble in Changping and captured Zhao Kuo, right? While he was speaking, almost everyone's eyes were focused on Su Junming. Among all the monks present at the late stage of Golden Core and above, he was the only one who had risen to prominence in the shortest time, but what he did was shocking. Moreover, almost most people present have never seen it. Nowadays, when you see a real person, of course you have to take a good look at it. Su Junming has met Master Unxin. This old monk is the abbot of Xiantong Temple in Wutai Mountain, Buddhism, and a great virtuous man who has reached the 11th turn of relics. But, it is truly a blessing for my spiritual practice to have a peerless talent like Daisu emerge during the great calamity. You're welcome, Master. While everyone was chatting, in the sand dunes 200 miles away, flags were fluttering, and countless soldiers in black helmets and black armor lined up in a neat battle formation, occupying the entire sand dune like an ocean. Among countless soldiers, a huge tent was propped up. Wearing black armor and hanging a long sword, the Dragon Emperor, full of royal aura, sat high on the throne. Below, more than a dozen warriors with serious auras were divided into 2 rows on the left and right, listening to inquiries. Zhao Gao. The Dragon Emperor slapped the table, and a cloud of black energy flew from the outside, landing on the ground and transforming into a middle-aged man wearing a black robe, a square hat, and a white face without a beard. Zhao Gao pays homage to His Majesty. How are the enemies on the other side doing? Back to Your Majesty. Leguan Taoism, Xiantong Temple, Tianqi Sect, Mission North and South sects, Shenxiao Taoism and other major sects have arrived. There are nearly 4,000 monks in total, including more than 100 monks in the Golden Core realm. There are 17 people at the peak of the Golden Core. The three families of Xiandao and Buddha think highly of me. Most of the high-level monks in the entire cultivation world are gathered here. With the sound of combat boots clanking, a tall and strong general stood up. Your Majesty, if you give me 200,000 troops, I will definitely wipe out the rabble. The Dragon Emperor raised his lips slightly and stepped down from the throne. He stretched out his hand to help the general who was kneeling on one knee. I naturally trust General Li Xian's abilities. But in a war, there will inevitably be casualties. You and the men outside are all direct descendants of our great Qin. Every time one of you is lost, I will be extremely distressed. Therefore, unless necessary, I don't need you to go to war for the time being. Your Majesty, since Su Fu hasn't arrived yet, I'm afraid he already has a disobedient heart. On the upper left, a veteran wearing a blue armor stood up and said, General Wang Jian, I, Su Fu, am as loyal to the king as the sun and the moon. While he was talking, a man shrouded in black mist walked in from outside. Get down on one knee. Su Fu paid homage to the king. He failed to come on time because he was delayed in gathering the army for many days. Please punish him. The Dragon Emperor's eyes flashed and he helped Su Fu up with both hands. Haha, I love your loyalty to the country, how can I be surprised? Let's go, take me to see the army you have prepared. Your Majesty, please. A group of people walked out of the tent and came to the front of the army. Onmyoges wearing black robes and ninja with ninja swords on their backs were divided into two distinct camps. The team of monks, numbering tens of thousands of people, exuded a serious evil aura. Your Majesty, this is the army I have prepared for you. After examining it, the Dragon Emperor nodded with satisfaction. Very good. Su Fu, you have indeed lived up to my trust. Thanks to Your Majesty for giving me 500 boys and girls with extraordinary qualifications, otherwise I would not have been able to pull out such a large army from a group of barbarians. Patted him on the shoulder. I'm very satisfied. In tomorrow's battle, you will lead them as my vanguard. My lord, take your orders. Su Fu's eyes flashed as he bent over and lowered his head. 10,000 ninjas and Onmyoji troops were arranged in front of a million Qin army formation. After the meeting ended, Su Fu returned to the Japanese ninjas and Onmyoji. In the large tent, the flickering candlelight shone on Su Fujian's thin face, adding a bit of gloom. Opposite him, in a semicircle, sat 7 ninjas and Onmyoji with powerful auras. The Qin Emperor ordered us to be the vanguard tomorrow. The 7 people frowned, and the first person with 2 long knives, one long and one short, spoke. Teacher, although the number of Chinese cultivators is not as large as ours, their cultivation is far superior to ours. If we attack first, we will definitely suffer heavy losses. I know, but if we don't comply, we will never end well in the future when Emperor Qin wipes out the cultivation world, Su Fu said in a deep voice. There are more than 100 golden elixir cultivators in the Chinese cultivation world, and there are nearly 20 at the peak of the golden elixir, plus the spiritual weapons and inheritances of various sects. Do you really think Emperor Qin can destroy them? Su Fu nodded slowly. As long as his Bai is here, no one in this world can be the Dragon Emperor's opponent. Teacher, what kind of treasure is Heshabai that you admire so much? Su Fu's eyes became profound. You will understand how powerful it is when you see it. Okay, Go down and prepare. Remember, be more careful. Once you are in trouble, don't fight to the death. Only by saving your life can you have a future. Is teacher. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 292. After everyone chatted for a while, Zhao Lai and Xiao Malong were left to discuss tomorrow's battle with the leaders and elders of each faction. Su Junming did not like complicated matters. After saying goodbye, he and the disciples of Mission Southern Sect found an open place and sat down cross-legged in the eyes of everyone with envy, admiration, and a bit of suspicion. He noticed that the eyes around him were paying attention to him intentionally or unintentionally, and his heart moved, and a yellow beam flew out of his dream. Invisible space barriers isolated Su Junming from the surrounding space. He pressed his palm, and a red pill the size of a pigeon egg appeared in his palm. Feeling the strong energy and blood in the pill, he raised his head and swallowed it. After it fell into the stomach, I felt a scorching hot stream of inflammation, flowing to the limbs and bones like lightning. Visibly, his face turned red. Not daring to be negligent, he quickly followed Pan Huang's 9 transformations method to move Zhou Tian, stimulating this energy and blood to open up the remaining acupoints. 57, 60, 65, 70, 71, 72. Boom. There was an explosion in the body, and 72 hot golden light spots emerged from the body surface. A surge of tyrannical chi and blood, accompanied by hot masculine energy, is like a river bursting its banks, as powerful as the sky. If the space here had not been separated from the outside world, I am afraid that this movement would have alarmed everyone. Suddenly, the yin-tang point between Su Junming's eyebrows flickered. With a thought in his heart, a blue talisman flew up from his dantian and sank into the yin-tang point. In an instant, the golden light in yin-tang point disappeared and slowly calmed down. Call. With a long sigh, Su Junming opened his eyes, touched his eyebrows, and his tense expression relaxed. We almost broke through. The earthly evil realm of body refining corresponds to the golden elixir realm of chi training, and 72 earthly evil acupoints need to be opened. In the Tiangang realm of body refining, 36 Tiangang acupoints need to be opened, corresponding to the Yuanying realm of chi training. The yin-tang acupointment between the eyebrows belongs to the Tiangang realm of body refining, and is the first of the 36 Tiangang acupoints that need to be opened. If it weren't for the end of heaven's law and the world would not allow the emergence of Yuanying realm monks, he would have made a breakthrough. Pity. But I don't know what level of cultivation this Lord Huosang has. 1 drop of his blood can allow me to break through 16 earth evil acupoints in a row, and at least half of my energy is left. Su Junming felt a little shocked when he looked inside at the essence and blood sealed in Yintang's body. It took Renwuji more than 5 years to use yin and yang to grind away the remaining will of Lord Huosang in this drop of blood, and then he refined this essence and blood pill. Looking at the harvest now, everything is worth it. After meditating for a while, I became familiar with the sudden increase in strength after breaking through the realm. A rush of mana. In a dream, the yellow beam flashed, and Lupin, wearing a helmet and armor, appeared in front of him. Su Junming waved his hand, and a formation diagram with powerful spiritual light, plus the sky thunder drum, the broken army sword, the red dragon flag, the soul calling bell, and the 9 divine lights of wind, thunder, yin, and yang fell into his hands. Go. Lupin put away many spiritual weapons, and with a flash of light, he disappeared into the ground. The more trump cards, the better. Put away a dream of yellow beams, use your magic power to sink into Jufeng Mountain. Most of the souls of the great Zhao army who were sealed in the demon-suppressing mountain have not yet been refined. Although time is tight now, every time one is refined, Yimen Huangliang's foundation will increase by 1 point. He has 1 more chance of surviving this catastrophe. The night passed quickly. When the first ray of the morning sun rises from the east, What greets the vast world is not the coolness and comfort of a summer morning, but an endless chill. There are nearly 4,000 disciples of all the righteous sects, each holding a magic weapon and staring solemnly at the end of the northern land. The Dragon Emperor's army wants to conquer the world, and there is a hurdle they can't get around. So, no need to go out of your way to find it, just wait here. Whoa! On the desolate and vast land, I suddenly remembered the mighty horn. Earth-shattering footsteps came from a distance. Before anyone could see him, the ground beneath his feet was already trembling. In the distance, a black line appeared where the sky and the earth met. The footsteps are getting closer and closer, and the black line is getting thicker and thicker. Slowly, the images of soldiers in black helmets and black armor, holding swords, guns, swords, and halberds became clear. As far as the eye can see, soldiers like a sea wave appeared in front of everyone. The overwhelming momentum and the murderous auras soaring into the sky went straight to the bottom of my heart. In front of this huge military formation that blocks out the sky and is as immovable as a huge mountain, the monks with less than 4,000 people are like an isolated island in the sea, and they will be submerged at any time. Feeling that his side was completely suppressed, Su Junming frowned. It would be weird to be intimidated by others before fighting, but to be able to win the fight later. This is not okay. He didn't care whether the Dragon Emperor was the emperor of the past life or not, and how great achievements he had made in the history of the Chinese nation. Now that he is sitting here in mission, the Dragon Emperor is the enemy he must defeat. We all have different opinions and don't work together. Looking at the army of monks who were walking at the front of the military formation, gathered about 5 miles apart, and dressed as obviously Japanese. Su Junming's eyes were fixed. "I'll give you a knife." A flash of light. Su Junming suddenly appeared in battle, instantly attracting the attention of almost everyone on both sides. The god of Hu Tian performs magic. The figure flashed and came to the top of the Japanese army. With the magic power activated, a series of yellow rice lightning bolts flew out. The fingerprints in his palms changed and he shouted loudly. A dream of yellow beams, binding the soul. 365 3-foot-sized yellow rice grains instantly transformed into 365 iron ropes that were 3 feet thick and nearly 100 feet long. These iron ropes with strange auras were like 365 giant dragons, roaring and flying into the army of ninjas and onmyoji. Facing the iron rope, the innate stage ninjas and onmyojis could not resist at all. As long as it is touched, all the soul and mana will be taken away. Cut against the wind with one strike. A Jindan realm ninja pulled out a long sword and slashed straight at the iron rope with more than 10 feet of sword energy. The sound of chiang chiang suddenly sounded, and the powerful sword energy could not stop the iron rope at all. The next moment, the whole person was submerged by the iron rope. Katsu Tengu. A Jindan realm onmyoji wearing black robes summoned his own Shikigami. The 5-foot-tall ghost and god, holding a giant sword and a scepter, has an astonishing aura. Before the Shikigami could show its power, the dragon-like iron ropes were entangled like snakes, and along with several strings of colliding sparks, the Shikigami and the onmyoji all disappeared. In mid-air, Su Junming stood with his hands behind his back. Now, after many rounds of sacrifices and training, his Yimeng Huangliang has become a top-grade spiritual weapon of the 9 treasures. Unless the opponent's cultivation level has reached the late stage of Jindan and he has a spiritual weapon nearby, he is no match for even a grain of rice. It only took a few moments from the time Su Junming stirred up a dream of yellow beams. 99% of the tens of thousands of Japanese ninja and onmyoji troops were wiped out. Looking at the remaining 8 monks at the late stage of the Golden Core realm and above, the finger formulas in their hands changed again. The Dharma realm of the universe. The iron chain instantly turned into yellow rice, and as fast as a meteor, it hit the 9 people. Not good. A bronze mirror appeared in the hands of the man in black robe in the middle. 8-foot mirror. Dazzling silver light flashed, and a black space channel emerged in mid-air. The man in black stepped forward and disappeared instantly. Space spiritual weapon. Su Junming was surprised. You can run fast. He didn't have time to chase it right now. As for the remaining 7 people, they do not have space spiritual weapons with them, although they are in the late stage of the Golden Core realm and have good strength. But faced with the concentrated fire of 365 spiritual weapons, they were quickly overwhelmed. In an instant, 700-foot-high yellow rice appeared in mid-air. Su Junming stretched out his hand, and with a flash of light, the yellow rice flew into his body and disappeared. Under the bright morning sun, Su Junming, with his hands behind his back, seemed like a god descending from heaven. As the Taoist robes fluttered, he exuded a domineering aura that overwhelmed the world. Ouch! Huge cheers rang out from the righteous team. With just one move, he managed to eliminate tens of thousands of Japanese monks. This astonishing move shocked both parties. Fellow Taoist Chiao, your sex Genren Chongshan is truly a genius who only appears once in 1,000 years, Taoist Swanyu said in shock. Haha, fellow Taoist, thank you. Chiao Malong smiled from ear to ear. The performance of his disciples not only boosted his morale, but also earned Mission Nanzan countless fame and merit. Fellow Taoist, I wonder what kind of spiritual weapon that yellow rice is, and it is so powerful, Taoist Swanyu asked. I usually guard the ancestral master hall, so I don't know much about this. Fellow Taoist, you should wait until today's battle is over before asking. My disciple Chiao Malong shook his head and smiled. At this moment, all the leaders of the big factions present were envious of Mission's good luck. Compared with the cheers and cheers of Jendao, the Dragon Emperor's army on the opposite side was different. Especially Yingzheng, whose face was the ugliest. Those Japanese monks were dead, and I didn't have much hope for them. But the momentum he had created with the help of millions of troops was finally destroyed by this person in one fell swoop. Who is this son? Back to the king, this man was born in the southern sect of Mission. He is known as the Master Chongshan Su Junming. He once suppressed 450,000 Zhao army souls including Zhao Kuo in Changping. Zhao Gao said respectfully. Master Chongshan Su Junming. The Dragon Emperor snorted coldly. After this battle, there will be no chickens or dogs left on Mission Mountain. Yes. The generals responded with a roar. Drum roll, let's start the war. Dong dong dong. The earth-shattering drum sound resounded through the sky. The army that came like a tidal wave, marching in neat steps, came straight towards the righteous people and crushed them. However, compared to just now, with Su Junming's intervention, Jendao's momentum was no longer as low as it was at the beginning. Boom! In the middle of the righteous path, a Taoist dressed in green waved his hand, and a giant green bell 100 feet high appeared in the sky. In an instant, the sound of a yellow bell was as loud as a bell, shaking the earth and the earth. Set up a formation. Upon hearing the order, the disciples from each sect formed according to the formation taught by their sect. A huge formation spread out, and the mighty spiritual light was like a solid dam, blocking the Dragon Emperor's army. In a large-scale war like this, unless one's personal power is extremely strong, it will be difficult for one person to influence the situation of the war. Therefore, the best way is to use formation. The formation will concentrate the scattered power and explode into several times the power. In this way, the numerical disadvantage of the righteous path will be evened out a lot. Buzz. Hundreds of battle flags emerged from the Dragon Emperor's army, and the military souls formed by military formations were extremely powerful. As the two sides got closer and closer, the sound of military boots suddenly became urgent. The spearmen at the front leveled their spears, strode forward, and lined up in a neat array, crushing directly towards the formations of the righteous factions. Bang 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 bang. Following a series of collisions, brilliance flashed, and the aura of killing shone in the sky. Some formations were instantly crushed by the tyrannical military formations, and a large number of soldiers died instantly and turned into broken terracotta warriors and horses.